Welcome to another episode of Little Talks, your weekly dose of marketing news and insights from Littlefield Agency.
And welcome back to another edition of Little Talks with Littlefield Agency. I'm Sam Littlefield. With me is
Roop.
In our room with us today, we are so fortunate. We have our lit turns. We're so happy to have Allison and Madison here. Welcome, ladies. You'll see them on our social. They're taking over our TikTok, some of our Instagram for the summer, which I just think is a great breath of fresh air. You already have 2 posts up. I think it's wonderful. So welcome, Madison and Allison. We've got a lot to cover today. We have a really good topic coming up here in a second. I got to show you this. I don't know if we can zoom in. Claude, can we zoom in or no?
I can do it.
If you're watching the video, Trent from Grasshopper sent me a package. He's like, hey, you cannot open this until you call me. So when you get it, call me, right? Okay. And I got it yesterday. He and I actually had a scheduled phone call this morning. It is a baseball card. I got 2 of them of Pope Leo. How awesome is that?
Is that official? Dude, Topps released that officially?
Exactly. Topps releases
what positions
this.
They got him at?
Head of the universe church.
DH. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Anyway, he gave me 2, one for myself and one for Matthew. Matthew will think this is so cool. But it literally says, Habemus Papam, Leo the 14th, named the first American Pope, 5/8/2025. There is a snippet on the back that is really cool.
I was going to ask if he had stats.
Thank you. I think that is very neat. I mean, didn't have to do that. No stats yet, but it's actually pretty cool. I'll read this. This is fun, whether you're Catholic or not. An American has been named Pope for the first time in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church. White smoke came billowing out of the Sistine Chapel's chimney on the second day of the 2025 Papal Conclave, delighting the crowd gathered in St. Peter's Square. And then it goes on to tell a little bit more about Pope Leo. Very, very cool.
Does it mention his Tulsa connections?
The baseball card? No, but he does have a Tulsa connection that is within like a mile of our homes. Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. Great school here called Cascia. But Trent, thank you. Little things like that. It's a gesture that goes a very long way, and I think that's awesome. We've got our lit turns here. We celebrated 45 years. You missed a hell of a podcast last week.
I know, and we didn't record the week before either, did we?
No, because I was in Europe.
Yeah, everyone's been gone. Brock's gone this week.
Brock's gone this week. Rocco's gone last week in Italy. I was in Paris and London. By the way, this like never happens. Out consecutive weeks. I feel like it's been a month.
Yeah, it does feel like a long time.
You look good. You're glowing.
Well, I told him to do that in post. So if you're watching the video, they've blowed me up.
You're a smart man. I love it. No, it was if you did not get a chance to tune into our 45th anniversary podcast with the OG founder and chairman himself, David Littlefield.
That was good.
I've actually listened to it twice. He did a really good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's listened to it 10 times.
He's almost as popular 10 times. He's almost as popular as Chelsea numbers wise.
You know what? I'll give it a little time. I think it'll be there.
It's been a week. He's already got better than Chelsea numbers.
And I hate to say it's not hard to beat, but actually, no, I'm just kidding. She's got great numbers. On that note, yesterday, Chris and I had just a really cool. We've met this guy a couple of times. He is a champion of our brand. His name's Pratik. I can't name the company he's with. Great guy, down in the Dallas area. Had a call with his team, Natalie and Brian. Just a really good, about 30, 35 minutes. I love talking to smart marketers. And I had enrolled Natalie and Brian into the podcast, so I hope that you listen to this episode. I sent them the 45th episode. I think you'll enjoy today's topic. But we enjoy smart marketers and talking to you, so thank you again for your time yesterday. And then the last announcement that I have before we go into this topic, Thursday, you and I have a very, very cool agenda and day ahead.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to our prospective clients, so you may not know this. I am in a CEO network group. It's independently owned advertising agencies around the world. There's 37 total, 30 are in North America, 7 in EMEA, APAC, et cetera. And I've got a buddy, Chris Sullivan, is flying in from Princeton, New Jersey to our HQ here in Tulsa. And we're doing a meeting of the minds. He's bringing his very, very brilliant media guy. His name's Bauer. So Bauer and Chris, we are so excited to have you on the podcast. We are actually going to have Chris on the podcast while he's here. I think that'll be a really nice thing. That's the plan. I think we can make that happen. But what I love about this network is Chris actually suggested this about 45 days, maybe 60 days ago. And Roop, what he told me, he said, hey, I love your agency. I love Chris's agency. He's gotten very creative in his business model. And he was like, I want to do a media meeting of the minds in the morning, and then I wanted to do a whole AI focus in the afternoon. And Philip, will you tell our listeners what Philip just did last week?
Yeah.
We were all over the place.
Yeah. We're not talking AI today, but everything we're doing right now is very AI related.
Yeah, no kidding.
Philip, our main dev here, went to San Francisco for a week-long AI conference and came back with some pretty good insights and some kind of tricks and things we're going to implement here in some of our processes and things we're doing. But yeah, he got a lot out of that.
He's pretty jazzed. He was pretty pumped yesterday when I talked to him.
Yeah,
Philip also got a dog recently, so he's entered parent life. Bolt is his name.
New dog dad.
Yeah, if you've ever seen the movie Bolt, it's great. But anyway,
he didn't name it after that. I don't think.
He didn't.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, he did.
I thought it was after that Bolt AI.
Oh.
Of course, you name it after AI. That's amazing.
I could be
anyway,
wrong.
We digress. Chris and Bauer are very excited to have you here at the agency to talk all things media and AI, because that is the world we're living in. This is a great topic. Tell our listeners why we're going over this topic today.
Today's topic, good job, Claude, is it says, let's talk client communication. So this is something that seems like it would just be
duh.
Duh. But we've gone through some internal discussions, and I think we're still kind of evolving that even on how we interact with clients, what channels we want, what channels they want, what makes sense for different situations, et cetera, et cetera. And we found out there's not really a clean-cut answer. There's no one answer. So we thought we'd just kind of talk today about what client communication looks like at Littlefield, how it's evolving, and what that means when you're interacting with either myself or Sam or one of the account folks or really anybody here.
Well, and I think the evolving evolution aspect is a great one, right? I mean, you think just here we are, 2025, 6 years ago, before the pandemic. I was never on a Zoom camera call. It was dial in, go to meeting, right? That seems like eons ago. And you just look how much communication has changed in the last 6 years. Look how many clients we have outside of the state of Oklahoma that we still see in person. We're going to hit on that. That face-to-face time is still very important. But just the everyday communication and making sure that things are routing smoothly. Deadlines are being hit. Strategy is fresh and new, and it just overall great. And let's talk through this.
So off the top, I'd say we're probably not too different than most agencies in that our project managers have weekly touch bases with our main clients, right?
Yep. So weekly status calls.
And those the status calls, they're not waiting until status calls to have communication, though. They're talking in between those quite a bit. And sometimes we don't really. Depending on the scenario, we don't really limit a client to, everything goes through the PM. People reach out to me directly quite a bit.
Which I think that is a huge change in the last, 18 months?
Yeah.
24 months?
So, it's not, PMs definitely are involved in that process because we want things, I'm not really, I'm not a PM, I'm not detail oriented. I don't really.
Roop, I love you to death. I'm so glad you're not a PM, brother. Me neither, though.
But they're good at detail, and they're good at documenting and making sure things are kind of going through a process and getting not getting lost.
I always say that the project manager here at our agency is the liaison between the client and our team, right? They're making sure deadlines are being hit. That clients, because here's the thing, we ask a lot of our clients, especially on the strategy side, there's certain deadlines that they need to hit as well. So it's keeping both parties accountable. And it's a very, very important part of their job. But you're right, it's not just limited to one. And here's one story I want to share. We pitched a client, we won the business, this was years ago. And the final phone call, and I had a feeling we were going to win the business, said, hey, I just want to make sure that I don't get billed for every call. And I was like, excuse me?
Right.
And he goes, our old agency that they had fired, every time the client called them, they charged them $150. And I was like, damn. And I always call it pinching pennies.
Yeah.
And we're not going to do that.
No, and I
thought that was very fascinating. I just couldn't imagine operating that way.
Yeah, and probably I would assume part of that rationale of someone wanting to charge $100 per call is to discourage calls and communication,
which is not good in our business.
Not good in our business, and not what we're after. We want more communication.
So you've got the project management side of things, and then of course you have the client engagement side. Client engagement, leading account strategy, working on big picture initiatives. I think something that's really important is, especially within the last 10 years, it is really easy to hide behind email.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you say? Have you ever done that before?
No,
Because you're an amazing communicator.
I just don't reply. I don't try to hide. No.
Which is why you're not a project manager.
Yeah, I'm not a project manager. But, you're right. So, like, email had kind of become a crutch for, I think, people. And, we're not limited to email anymore. We all carry around our email in our pocket. We have chat messages. We have Slack. We have message. There's all these other ways you can actually use the phone as a phone, which I get most people hate using their phone as a phone. But like you can call and just kind of knock things out real quick. So instead of a whole day of back and forth on email, often it's easier. We've found and the AEs and the PMs, I think, really spearhead this, to just get on the phone and call and say, hey, let's get the relevant parties together and just kind of talk through what's happening or what the issue is or what the resolution may need to be.
What I really like, especially about our size at 25 people, is that is easy for us to do. Hey, Trent sent me this email. Rocco, Roop, let's get in a room to discuss. Actually, I'm going to call Trent's cell. Like, we're going to have this. And we're in the middle of an RFP process for a big brand here in Oklahoma. And they asked about this, which is, I think, part of the reason that we're talking about this. And we call it, we are pick up the phone people. Ideally face-to-face. Whether it's a great conversation, whether it's a hard conversation, it's a hell of a lot easier to have those conversations over the phone or in person than hiding behind email. Because, boy, you can do some fun. You can get creative behind email. Get chirpy.
Well, you know what? You're reading email and you're interpreting an inflection or an attitude or maybe something that's not intended.
I love it. Reynolds Wallace is a senior PM here. Yeah. God, I love her. She's been here for 14 years. And if she had clients in the past that wouldn't use exclamation points, Reynolds' feelings would get hurt because Reynolds is a 2 on the Enneagram and she's like the sweetest person in the world. It's like, no, Reynolds, they're just telling you something. Like, it's all good.
There was always that, and Reynolds in particular. I remember talking to her about some of this in the past. But like, there would be that we'd talk about how weird it would be, like on email, this person or these people, because it wasn't limited to one person, would sound one way, and then you'd talk to them on the phone or meet them in person.
Yeah, what's up, Reynolds?
It was a complete 180. So, email is not always the best unless you're trying to share, links or things that like they need to be able to click or interact with. I think. Sometimes it's fine for a quick note. Honestly, some clients prefer it to some of the other things, which is what, getting back to our top of the podcast here, we thought we would be able to get into some sort of uniform system here.
Which we called extreme client communication. I was adamant on this.
Yeah. And, we gave it
I was wrong. I tried.
I think it's worth exploring, though. We learned from it for sure. And, for a long time, we tried to get some clients in on Slack. I have Slack channel messages with us. So we all use Slack internally to communicate. They didn't want that, but we run some HubSpot and some data processes that kick out errors every night. Sometimes there's errors, sometimes there's not. But those errors for us were constantly, copying and pasting the error and sending it over to them. Eventually one day we said, hey, can we just include you in a Slack channel where that's all that happens is the errors. Literally all you need to do is check to see if there's an error because they have to fix it on their side. Yeah. And that's cleaned up quite a bit. So that kind of communication isn't necessarily, hey, let's talk about it. It's just alerts and updates on things that we're both working on together.
Totally. I love that. You brought up a good point earlier, and I think we've gotten a heck of a lot better, especially within the last probably 6 to 8 months. There are some times, I'm going to use Grasshopper, for example. So Chelsea and Kendall run that account. They're amazing. They're communicating with Mike and Trenton team. But then there's some times where Mike just has direct questions for you. Mm-hmm. How do you all communicate?
Well, he'll call me usually, and
he'll call your cell phone.
Yeah, he'll call me. I'm either in a meeting or sometimes I answer it, but a lot of times he's calling me when I can't answer. So he'll follow up with an email or a text, and then in the day I try to get back with him whenever I'm free.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a lot of discussions like that. Just kind of like, I've been in meetings where we've been like, I don't know, what do you think Mike thinks? And we'll just put the phone on the table and call him speakerphone. We all interact with him real quick. Yeah.
That to me is wonderful. And of course, I'm assuming you still loop in Chelsea and Kenny when you, hey, I had this conversation with Mike, just FYI. Yeah.
I do my best, but remember, I'm not a PM.
I do my best.
I don't want Chelsea to be like Roop's lying. He never does. I do try, but Chelsea might have some issue with my level of success.
So you bring up a good example, Mr. I try. Golly. There's very informal, casual conversations with our clients There are weekly status meetings, but then you look at quarterly analytics, right? Very formal, very sophisticated. We're prepped, we're ready. There are different stakeholders in that meeting. Sometimes we have one client that only wants 2 stakeholders in the meeting. Fantastic. We have one client that wants 9 stakeholders in their quarterly reporting meeting. Wonderful. That's great too. So we have different cadences and different just ways of presenting. And I call it reading the room, right?
Yeah.
There are some times when you need to stand to present. That's okay. If the CEO of the organization is in, right, it's going to be a heck of a lot more formal than it would be with the normal day-to-day marketing team.
So, sometimes you're going to prom and sometimes you're just going to a Thursday night dance. Right?
What is that?
Sometimes it's formal and you dress up, and sometimes it's not.
Or like fast food versus a nice restaurant. There you go.
I told you I had one
It's a weird
Benadryl.
analogy.
Are you going to sleep? Are you asleep right now?
He's dreaming.
Roop, by the way, I forgot to finish. God, I'm crying.
What?
Had a Benadryl earlier because he has a mosquito bite. And
like
obviously
40
his
mosquito
brain is
bites.
strange.
Yeah.
That was and I'm all for your analogies. That was a weird one, dude.
That
I
was a
thought
weird
it was
one.
good.
Prom versus a casual. I have not been at a casual Thursday night dance.
Like,
I
what
can't. I
is
don't know if
that?
ever.
Yeah, they have them.
Okay, continue
Back
your
in his
thought.
day.
So we do have those formal meetings where there's a presentation. We have maybe people outside of our normal day-to-day communication with the client that are present. Their peers or their superiors or whatever. And so we definitely want to be more buttoned up in those moments. But those are, between that, there's a lot of other work that happens. And I think one of the kind of magical things that happens in the way we interact and communicate with clients is when you have that opportunity to just text them back and forth. I'll tell you this. I text Trent at Grasshopper. We text, I would say, semi-frequently, but it's never about work. It's always about our cars.
Yeah, no, I love that.
So like you really get to know your client and they get to know you through that kind of open communication. I think it's a good thing. When I was kind of putting this topic together, mostly it's because we were exploring new ways to do the extreme stuff. And I thought, well, let's talk about what we've learned through it. But then I was like, I don't know if everyone does this. I think maybe there are agencies out there that are not quite as freewheel. Yeah, like we're not charging for a call.
No, we're not charging.
I think that maybe not everyone's the same. For us, it works. It may not work for others, but we're pretty open to it.
To each their own, for sure. The last point that I have here, and I think even in the age of AI, I just got off this magnet call that this is a very prevalent conversation. This right here, my friend, face-to-face, you can't ever beat it. I don't care what happens in the next 5 to 20 years in this business. Breaking bread with our clients is the most important thing. Having a nice dinner, going to the golf course, even when a client is up here, sure, there's times where there's time constraints and, hey, we got to bring in lunch and work through lunch. We really try to get out of the office.
Yeah.
Those sort of relationships, we are not transactional people. I think obviously we bring a talent to every client, no matter what they need. But at the end of the day, our clients, we like them, they like us, and it's that relationship that is very important. And I have a lot of buddies that went in a very different direction during the pandemic. Some shut down, got out of their office leases and saved a lot of money. Mm-hmm. They don't have a space to gather with their clients anymore. So most of them went back to an office space. A lot of them were just catching up on Zoom. And hey, guess what? I had a wonderful hour conversation with Trent this morning on Google Meet. And we were there. His son Andrew stopped in for a second. We got to catch up. We try to do a monthly or bi-monthly catch up. And that was wonderful because I'm not up in Kansas today and he's not down in Oklahoma. There's a time and place for that.
Yeah.
But there's also times where I really like to see Trent in person and vice versa. And I think that right there is super important. Whether it's a great situation or a tense situation, it's just that face-to-face. And I'll give you an example. We have a newer client, I can't name their name, out of Ohio. And for major we kicked it off. It was very important to them, which was a great sign to our relationship.
Yeah.
They said, we want to kick this off in person. We want your team to come to us. And we did. And then we
talk about red flags. That was a green flag.
It was a green freaking flag. And by the way, we had 1 week because of holidays, et cetera, travel. They were traveling and they're like, hey, we can make this work. And on vice versa, recently we had a huge presentation and we said, it is really important that you come from Ohio and Pennsylvania down to Tulsa to see our space, to meet more people, and for us to present this to you. And guess what? They did.
Yeah.
They flew in on a Sunday. They went away from their family on a weekend, flew in on a Sunday, had dinner with us Sunday night. We met with them all day Monday, and they flew out Monday at 4 p.m.
How'd the meeting go?
Freaking fantastic.
Right.
Ooh, I had to catch myself there.
I think
Amazing. It was absolutely, and it's that to me is where those are our best relationships. And not that it's a dying art, but there's a lot of agencies that just aren't making the time for that.
And honestly, you're going to have any relationship, client or personal, or whatever, you're going to have friction in those
course.
moments. And
Natural
I think
tension, it
that
happens.
tension and friction is a little less sharp when you have developed these kinds of relationships and open these channels of communications with each other.
And I always go back to, and I tell our executive team this all the time, when there is healthy tension, it makes for better work. Client has this opinion, we have this opinion. Let's find common middle ground that still advances your brand. It's a win-win.
Yeah. Yep.
I love it. So I guess our call to action, our takeaway is you're meeting with your agency, is you're meeting internally, right? I mean, this isn't just with your agency partner. This is across the board. Is how can you better communicate? How can you, because good communication leads to better work leads to better results. That's at the end of the day.
We didn't even get into our internal communications. We mentioned Slack.
Yeah.
We're,
Oh my gosh.
We're open office. Everybody walks around, talks to each other all the time.
How many shoulder tapping, coffee pot conversations? You can't beat them. A lot of times, here we are on no scheduled meeting day. Some great meetings happen on this day.
Yeah, informal ones.
Informal ones, podcast ones.
I don't control that invite.
So anywho, as you kind of work through summer months, I think it's important for you all to have these conversations, to just take a hard look in the mirror. How can you better communicate internally? How can you better communicate externally? And what's the goal of that communication? Brock is really good. What is the goal of extreme client communication?
Yeah.
Is it to better communicate to our clients, or is it to better integrate ourselves within their team, to better know their brand, and to drive results?
Yeah.
The latter.
He's been a real champion for that.
Roopster, it's great to see you.
Good to see you.
I hope you don't. I thank you for not falling asleep.
Well, it's lunch.
It's
I'm
lunch.
going to probably have something heavy.
Heavy.
I'm going home for lunch. That's a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, tell our listeners, how far away do you live from here?
60 seconds.
60 seconds. 8 blocks. I walked by your house yesterday, by the
you
way.
did?
Looks nice.
Come and say hi.
Okay. Well, hey, thank you as always to our listeners. We appreciate it. We appreciate the time. Happy June, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Adios.
All right. Thank you.
And that's a wrap. We hope you've enjoyed our little chat and found ways to grow your own marketing strategies. Remember to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and follow us on social media @Littlefield Agency.